Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, and welcome to Spudboi's first annual Worst of the Year movie review. Now, this took a little longer to make, considering I've never actually done this before, and I actually wasn't sure that I was going to do this at all. See, I saw most of these movies before I actually started doing movie reviews, and I wasn't actually planning on doing movie reviews for these films. And I still don't for the most part. But what I am going to do for this video is I'm going to give my short thoughts on each movie, even though I barely remember some of them. And whether or not that's a good or bad thing is up to you. This year there actually weren't 10 movies that I necessarily thought that were that bad this year. The first 4 on this list are actually kind of decent. And even though I think almost all of them are boring, I think given the right audiences, they're still watchable, and maybe you should even check them out. But sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and these movies definitely took the L. So without further ado, number 10. The Forever Purge. This movie is the 12th or so movie in both the Purge universe and in real life. To be honest, I don't really know how many Purge films there are. I've never actually really been a Purge fan. However, seeing this movie, I can tell you that this film is what happens when a bunch of people who take part in the Purge decide that they've had enough with Mexicans and decide that they want the Purge to last forever, exclusively so they can kill Mexicans. But, this movie wasn't actually that bad in any serious way. It even made it to my alright tier on my tier list. What prevents this film from actually making it to my top 10 is the fact that the story itself is just alright, hence the alright tier. This movie really does boil down to some racist and classist people who want the Purge to last forever so they can kill Mexicans. I don't know how else to put that. That's like the whole movie. Where this movie the story itself doesn't really compel you, it does give you lots of time to enjoy some pseudo-Nazi killing fun. And that's why it's landed itself the number 10 spot. The worst of the year. Not that bad, but it could have been better. A lot better. Number 9. Black Widow. Look, I'm not going to really say anything that hasn't been said about this movie. Natasha deserved better. She really did. This movie is pretty boring for the most part. And what's weird about that is the MCU in this film is just as flashy and action-packed as it always has been, but the thing is, the story itself was severely lacking, okay? The best parts of this film are when her family got together, and it actually felt like you actually had some emotional connection there. You kind of wanted to see where that was going to go. But the thing is, they don't really spend that much time on the actual family angle. It's the whole movie, and yet they spend so little time together. It really is just action scene to action scene, but the thing is, none of the action really goes anywhere. You're thrown into a plot you're not really that invested in. You've probably heard about it from references from other movies, but it's not that great. It just isn't. And it leaves you wondering, why this movie was even made, honestly. Needless to say, her sister was the best part about this movie, and that should tell you about everything you need to know. On to number 8. Jungle Cruise. This movie is when Magic Man The Rock gets into debt and decides that he wants to go on a treasure hunt so that he can pay off his debts and make some money. There's not a whole lot to say about this movie, truly. The story isn't particularly amazing or original, but if you take your kids to watch it, I don't think you'll hate yourself leaving the theater. Characters are likable, and the movie itself will probably keep you entertained for the most part. Had they worked a little harder on the story, I truly feel like this movie probably would have jumped a tier or two in my eyes. Number 7. The Addams Family 2. The Addams Family 2 is about Wednesday Addams not really feeling like she fits into the Addams family when she finds out that she might actually not be an Addams. This movie is enjoyable enough for kids, but the story in my eyes left me wanting something a little bit more, okay? It's not particularly compelling, and I think this movie actually would have benefited a lot more had it been like live action instead of animated, because it doesn't really feel like they utilized the animation probably as much as they could have. And it's not like the animation style was itself special in any real way. But like, if your kid goes and see this movie, then I'd say let them enjoy it, but as for myself, I don't think I'd ever watch this again, to be honest. Number 6. Godzilla vs. Kong. Simply put, this is a movie about Godzilla fighting King Kong. And trust me, you don't want to know the rest. Please, listen to me. Do not waste your time watching this movie. It's not worth it. It really isn't. I would have been so much better off had I been drinking during this film. If you are a Godzilla or King Kong fan, you will be much better off just looking at the fight scenes on YouTube. Don't give this movie money. Just look it up on YouTube. Number 5. Space Jam: A New Legacy. Trapped inside the computer, LeBron James and his son have to fight, get back into the real world through video game basketball versus an AI that had his feelings hurt. Now, I don't really see this as the massive advertisement a lot of other reviewers were saying it was. My problem with the movie is that it doesn't really feel like anyone was actually trying to make a good film. The acting from basically everyone, apart from the animated characters, which mostly due to the fact that they're animated characters and they are the Looney Tunes, it felt very forced and bad. But in good faith, it could have just as easily been the writing. I mean, the source material was not great. Like, oh my god. What this movie actually did well is that it's still kind of fun to watch, although it definitely would have been better had I been drinking, just like the last film, and the film before that. Number 4. Justice League: The Snyder Cut. This movie is just a re-edit of an already bad film that makes the characters slightly more compelling by doubling the runtime and boring you to death. Like, I actually feel bad for DC fans because this ain't it, okay? Like, this film never should have happened. They just need to do what Marvel did, okay? Where they, like, set up each character in their own movies instead of, like, introducing them inside of a plot that is both dumb and inconsequential. Okay, if you take out all the stupid intros in this movie and the Death of Superman arc, all you're really left with is two equally useless aliens that want some ancient boxes so they can terraform Earth. Which, by the way, was a plot that was already done in a previous DC film. Like, it makes no sense. Like, if you want a Justice League movie, you are honestly better off just waiting for another one to come out, rather than watching this one. Like, oh my god. And the Justice League Gray shit is nothing but pretentious, and it definitely was not worth watching the movie over again. Number 3. Eternals. Eternals is the 26th movie in the MCU, and I've already reviewed it on this channel. Okay, so I'm gonna make this very short. The movie is boring, and it killed off the only characters I actually liked. It felt like a real swift kick in the nuts as I was leaving the theater. Love that. Number 2. Old is about a family that decides to take a vacation to an island beach resort, and while on the island, they're told about an isolated area on the beach where they can get away from everyone. Naturally, they take it, but everything is not as they seem. As everyone that made their way to the isolated part of the island has mysteriously started growing old, with seemingly no way of escape. Now, the production and execution of this film are not why this film made it to my top 10 worst of the year list. All my problems with this movie lie in the writing. It seemed like someone had a great idea for a premise, but had no clue how to actually execute it, or how this movie should be resolved. Most every decision that the characters make in this movie is a stupid one. Things happen that make absolutely no sense, and then to top it all off, the resolution at the end is really, really dumb, comes out of nowhere, and is not particularly original. This movie is a very mind-numbing experience, and it made me sad. Now for the dishonorable mention. The Nun. The Nun features a Catholic ghost doing Catholic things. This movie, in the first 10 minutes, throws in as many cliche movie tropes as it possibly can, and I, for one, was certainly offended. The way I make movies is very special in the fact that in order to get a 1 out of 5, which is now like a 1 out of 8, you have to actually offend me and my eyeballs with whatever I'm watching. And this movie knocked it out of the park in that regard. The only good part about this movie is when the guy decides to uproot one of the cross-shaped tombstones and whacked the ghost with it. Okay, that shit was hilarious. But promptly after, we got up and left the theater. And had I actually paid money, I would have asked for my money back. That was ridiculous how bad that movie was, okay? The only reason that this movie didn't make it to the actual top 10 list is the fact that it didn't come out this year, which, that was some good luck on their part. Holy crap. However, number 1 wasn't so lucky. Zola. Zola is about a waitress who has a hobby for stripping, and her new friend convinces her to take a trip to Florida where messy shit starts to happen. Everyone in this film did a great job in their acting, but holy shit, did this movie bore the crap out of me. And it felt like such a major waste of time. This movie takes an hour and a half to tell a story that could have easily been told and had the same impact as a short film. Nothing special happens, and there's nothing particularly original about the film. Some of the shots are good, but there are more shots that I found actually appalling. Like there's a 2-minute kissing scene for absolutely no reason. And the camera focuses on the piss. Like, why? Why? Like, you want to be artistic, but this ain't it, Chief. That ain't it. The best part about this film is that it looked like George Lucas made a guest appearance as a pervert. And that is my top 10 worst of the year movie review. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully the best of the year will be coming out soon. I have yet to even start working on that, actually. But yeah. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.